Hey everybody, it's Amy Duvall again. I thought I would try to go live this time and share with you a few tips on your most accurate way of measuring wet and dry ingredients, since that's something that I do quite a bit, both for my business and for my personal. So since I'm live, I am just gonna, this is the first time I've done this from my phone. So I'm not sure if I will be able to see if people join or not. Oh, okay, I can. All right, 2 people are on. So if you have any questions while I'm doing this, whether it's about what I'm showing you right now, or whether it's just, as long as it's not what is the meaning of life, because I have absolutely no clue on the answer to that one. Hi, Allison. I'm happy to answer any questions. So some of you in the Pampered Chef party don't know me, and some of you do know me. Some of you know Amanda, my co-host, and some of you know Holly, my Pampered Chef consultant, and my friend who's helping us with this party. She's the person ultimately in charge. So I just want to give you a quick heads up if you haven't seen the other videos as to who the heck I am. So Holly and I went to high school together in Clinton, Iowa. I'm an Iowa girl at heart, even though I live in the Washington, D.C. area. And Amanda actually is from Clinton, Iowa as well. So I didn't know Amanda growing up, but I'm super excited to have met her now, at least remotely anyways. So that's who I am, and I was an environmental lawyer and a lobbyist for about 20 years here in the DC area, and about 2 years ago, a little bit over 2 years ago, I decided to wrap that up, and I started studying pastry, and I now have my own small, emphasis on very small, baking business called From Politics to Pastry, and that's literally the website. If you're ever interested, it's frompoliticstopastry.com. So, and then I also, for a little bit in, I guess in 2019 to 2020, I taught both savory and sweet classes at Sur La Table, which is a kitchen supply store. If you don't have one near you, it's kind of like a Williams-Sonoma type situation. So I taught classes there. So that's part of my business as well, is to be able to go into people's homes and teach them baking and cooking and help with that. So given all of that, I have a little bit of experience with measuring wet and dry ingredients, and I just wanted to share a couple of helpful tips with you, hopefully tonight. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to just note them here and I'll try to answer them. But I wanted to show you some of the tools that I use. And obviously this is a Pampered Chef party, so some of these are Pampered Chef items that I have, and then quite frankly others are not. Just because either I didn't know Pampered Chef offered something like this, and I'll let you know if that's the case, or it just wasn't available to me at the time. So key to measuring is, and what I think a lot of people don't realize, is that there are tools for measuring wet ingredients and tools for measuring dry ingredients, and they don't necessarily work together. So I've been surprised over the last year or so to find out that a lot of people, when they're baking, use a measuring cup like this for everything, wet and dry. And I would like to tell you not to do that. If you have any ability to purchase different tools for wet and dry. So this is really, now this is a Pyrex, but Pampered Chef sells, this is a measuring cup for liquid measure, ideally, okay, ideally. So Pampered Chef sells something very similar, and I highly recommend it. If you don't have one yet, definitely purchase one. So this is really meant for liquid ingredients, and the reason I say that is I've got water in this one. You can see that the measurements are along the side, and the measurements are in milliliters on one side, and then they are in cups, quarter cups, half cup on the other side, but milliliters are really meant for liquid measurement. And then of course this is a bigger one, so it goes up to 2 cups, and then it's got the ounces on it too. This is ounces by volume, not ounce by weight, which is something slightly different. It's not apples for apples. So I've seen, like, I'm gonna rat my mom out here, Mom, forgive me, but I had watched her bake over the holidays in the fall and winter, and I had never noticed that she measures her flour in a cup like this, as well as like her vegetable oil. And the challenge with trying to put dry ingredients in here, and I'm going to use Rice Krispies as an example, is you can't quite tell if you've got it flat across. If it's a liquid, it's going to settle to be flat. If it's a solid, it may not be straight across. So you can't be sure that you've got the exact right amount. So what you want to be using for dry ingredients is something like this, a set of dry measuring cups, okay? So the nice thing about this, and I'll demonstrate for you in a second, is that you can fill it up to the top, what you think is the top, and you can take a flat edge. I normally just use the back of a knife, and you can scrape right across, make sure it's all filled, and everything extra goes by the wayside. So then you know you've really got an accurate measurement for dry ingredients, which is very, very hard to do in something like this, because even the 2-cup measurement, if you can see it on here, it's right here, isn't up to the top. It's here, right? So you can't really get in there to even that out and make sure you've got exactly 2 cups. So that's why this is meant for liquid measurement. And a set like this is meant for dry measurements. So this is 1 cup, and then there's half a cup and quarter cup, eighth a cup. You can use these for liquid measurement because again, you just fill it up to the top and it's going to settle out. But you should not ideally be using this, which is meant for liquid measurement, for dry measurement, okay? So if you only have one set to choose from, I would say go with something like this, because you can do both dry and wet with these, even though they're meant for dry ingredients. You may have also seen measuring spoons like this. These can be used for both liquid and dry. And the reason for that, kind of like something like this, it's just a smaller amount, tablespoons, teaspoons, is you can go straight across and get an accurate measurement, okay? So let me show you an example here. So I've got I'm gonna be making Rice Krispie treats later tonight at my husband's request. This is what happens when we're stuck in the house. So if I'm trying to get a cup of Rice Krispies, okay? So a cup in here, it's the middle marker, okay? So I'm gonna pour them in. I'm gonna do my best to guess what's a cup, okay? I'm gonna do my best. So this is a little more than a cup. So I'm gonna pour this back. I can see looking at the line. All right, so can you see the problem in that I can't pat them down perfectly with my hand? I don't know if I've gotten it straight across, and I can't even it out with the flat edge, okay? So I'm just kind of hoping best I can that I've gotten it to the 1 cup mark. The other challenge is depending on which direction you're looking at this. If you're looking up at it, it looks like there's more in it than if you're looking down at it, because it's an optical illusion with the lines on the measuring cup, okay? The only way to know 100% for sure that you've measured it properly, especially when you're baking, which is all about chemistry and essentially is a chemical reaction, is to use a digital scale, okay? This is your best friend, especially when you're baking. So just as an example to show you guys, I'm going to grab a bowl here, and I'm gonna measure by weight how much we think Rice Krispies are that are in here that are a cup, okay? So I'm taking a bowl, I'm going to zero that out on the scale so the weight of the bowl is negated, okay? And I'm gonna pour this in. This is what we think is a cup, right? In theory, a cup measured this way and a cup measured this way should be the same weight, right? They probably won't be though. So the cup that we measured in the intended for wet ingredient measuring cup weighs 37 grams. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm probably not gonna be able to get this up here. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. It weighs 36 grams. It's settled down, okay? So let's remember 36 grams. Hey, Amanda. All right, so that's 36 grams. Now I'm going to take my dry measuring cup and I'm going to fill it with the Rice Krispies again. And I've got almost a full cup. I'm gonna keep pouring, but can you see I've got all of this left over still? So I'm gonna put some more on here just to kind of fill it up to the top best I can. I'm gonna pour the rest back in the bag. And then I'm gonna do what I was saying to you guys about how to level this off and how you know you've got a cup, okay? I'm gonna take this. It's gonna be hard to do. I'm gonna lower my phone here, so hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. Hopefully you can see this, okay? I've got my bowl, and I'm going to use my flat edge to just even this out. In this case, I might be able to put a few more in here. Let's put a few more on the top. Hey, Michelle, how are you? All right, so I'm evening this out. Hopefully you guys can see this. And ideally, this is much easier to do with flour or sugar to demonstrate, but I wanted to give you an idea with Rice Krispies. So if you had flour or sugar in here, any dry ingredient, we're gonna scrape right across the top, okay? And we're gonna even this out. That's how you measure dry ingredients. And we already know that this is gonna weigh less than when we did it in the liquid measuring cup, because I've already scooped out several Rice Krispies. Let me put this back up here. Okay, so now I'm gonna weigh what's in our dry measuring cup, and we'll see how many grams this is. It was 36 grams before, I think, from the other cup. And now this is 31 grams. Okay, that's a huge difference when you're gonna be baking, especially if you have like 2, 3, 4 cups of this. You're off by 5 grams every time. So the ideal way to bake is to measure by weight. Then there's no question at all. But if you don't have access to a digital scale, mine happens to be Cuisinart. They sell them on Amazon. I don't think Pampered Chef has a digital scale, but I'll have Holly comment in case I missed it, because I don't know all the products. But a digital scale is fantastic when you get it, and you can get them for, you know, less than $50. So I mean, maybe $30, which should be pretty reasonable. You don't need a fancy one, but your best bet for measuring ingredients is a digital scale. Then the next thing to remember is these are for liquid ingredients. Ideally not dry ingredients, because you can't get an accurate flat top on it. And then these are for dry ingredients. And let me show you a hint on flour, because I think a lot of people don't realize this. If you're measuring flour, so I got my big canister of flour here. I'm gonna lower this a little bit. If you're measuring flour, I think some people take a spoon and they spoon the flour into the measuring cup. You don't want to do that, actually, because when you do that, you might be upturning some air. It's going to give you an inaccurate reading. You really just want to kind of scoop this into your receptacle, bag, whatever you've got it in, okay? And then you want to take your flat surface. So in my case, I use a knife. Pampered Chef sells a spreader that would work great too, okay? And can you guys see, I'm then going to take this and I'm gonna run my flat edge over it to even it out, okay? And then I'm just gonna swipe this back in. That's a perfect, in this case, a half cup, okay? Don't stir it unless your recipe calls for you to sift the flour. And then that's a different story, because then you're supposed to be putting air into it and trying to get rid of any possible clumps that there are, okay? But that's the best way to measure dry ingredients, okay? Put that back in. And I want to show you one other thing too. You may have seen one of these before, and Pampered Chef definitely sells one. This is ideally for, you could use it for wet or dry ingredients, but it's really fantastic for things that are sticky and not easy to kind of get into a measuring cup, whether one like this or a dry measuring cup like this. Perfect for things like peanut butter, jellies, mayonnaise. Those peanut butter is what comes to the top of my head first and foremost. So it's great because it says on the sides, you know, exactly what you're going for. So in this case, like let's say we wanted 2 cups of peanut butter. I set it to the 2-cup mark. We kind of even it out. And then you would put your peanut butter in here. But to get it out of here, instead of having to dig it out with a knife or anything like that, you could literally just plunge it out. And it would plunge it right out for you, so you don't have to worry about it sticking to the sides of the measuring cup or measuring container, okay? So that's another great tool, and Pampered Chef definitely has one of these. I can't remember exactly what they call it. I know Holly will be able to tell us. So anyways, those are my hints for accurate measuring. I did want to point out one other thing, just because we're talking about baking ingredients. If you are someone who keeps brown sugar in your pantry all the time, get one of these. You can tell this is a Pampered Chef one. It's got a nice PC written on it. I think they come in sets of 2. And this is a brown sugar keeper. And you literally just, you know what, I'll be right back. I'm going to grab my little container of brown sugar so you can see. So you literally, for these, like I have my dark brown sugar canister. I love these OXO Good Grips containers, by the way. Now this is a brown sugar keeper that is not from Pampered Chef. I have multiple containers of light brown sugar and dark brown sugar. So there's one in another container. But you just leave this in here all the time. You actually wet it first and then you drop it in. They're made out of like terracotta. And it absorbs the moisture and then slowly puts it off into the container. And what it does is keep your dry ingredients from, or keep your brown sugar from hardening. And so I can actually like pull this out and it's still, you know, it's been in here for probably a couple weeks since I've used this. But you do want to make sure that you wet the keeper. Wet this before you put it in, okay? Because I didn't realize that at first. And if you just plop it into the canister, it doesn't do anything, okay? You may have heard like old wives' tales about like putting in a banana or a apple or a piece of bread. Same concept, but the nice thing is that, you know, these aren't going to mold, and they're a little more sanitary. So, anyways, and these are under $10 for the set. I think that comes in a set of 2. But anyways, hopefully those are some helpful hints. Gab, hi, how are you? Holly, sorry, I called a couple questions out for you. A question about what this is called. I know Pampered Chef has a plunger. I call it my plunger measuring cup. I know that they have one like this. And what was the other thing? Oh, does Pampered Chef sell a digital scale? I don't think they do. If they don't, you should go back to headquarters and tell them they should develop one. But that's it, guys. Anybody who's still on here want to ask any questions, feel free. Either about measuring, baking, cooking in general. I'm trying to do my Rosie the Riveter look right now, if y'all hadn't noticed. That's really all I've got. I just hope you've had fun with this party. I hope you've learned some stuff. Maybe you pick up some good tools to use in the kitchen that you didn't already have. I think orders are due by midnight tonight, I want to say. If you have any questions about, you know, what Pampered Chef items I use, items that I have in my kitchen that we haven't talked about, feel free to message me. You can also ask Holly, of course. And I just hope you guys have had fun, and, you know, gives us something fun to do and maybe learned a few things along the way. So thanks a lot, guys. I hope you have a great night and enjoy the rest of the party. Take care. Bye.